Good day, Ninth and O. This is Michael Knight, one of the pastoral interns here at Ninth and O. I want to welcome you to Devotionables, brief devotions for busy people. You know, as I think about fear, and oddly enough, here we are in October coming up on Halloween, I think about where David's at here in Psalm 34 today. It's possible, as most believe, that this is really a time in which 1 Samuel 21, he's having issues with Saul. He's going to run to an enemy nation in whom he's going to try to sneak in and find refuge and solace away from Saul, but they recognize him at the gate. And he's going to, as Brother TJ's told us in his book, he's going to play a little game of kind of mental loss and things and play a little crazy in order to protect him by that. But what we see here in Psalm 34 is deeper. We're going to see the fear and the trust that he has in God in that moment of great despair and imminent death. And so as we get into that, it's reminded of, you know, with mental health, with physical health, with the fears that we have in life, it's easy for us to count on ourselves and that kind of thing, and to even put up false fronts of who we are, right? We try to hide in the shadows, like David wanted to hide and pretend that he wasn't David. Many of us want to sometimes hide from others so they don't truly know who we are. And so in that, we're going to see that David's fear is juxtaposed to his joy, to his refuge that he finds in his reliance on God. But so our testimony in life to take this over to how this means to us is, it's not just about what we want to pretend to be or always showing joy first. Sometimes it's about showing our true testimony and our true selves. When we fear, when we're struggling, it's showing our real identity of what's going on, and so that we can come and rely on God in those moments, and then allow our testimony to others show that we found our solace and our trust in God in the midst of these struggles. Not away from them, not a false narrative given to people in which they feel like they have to live in some type of weird Christian bubble, but yet, no, even Christians are struggling. Even Christians have times where they fear and have to trust in the Lord. And so the testimony is, where do we find our peace, our solace, our comfort? And so, as we're going to see, just as Psalm 34 is 22 verses. Actually, it's funny. It follows the Hebrew alphabet, actually. One for each letter of the alphabet is how each verse starts. So we're not going to read all 22 verses, but I do want to highlight verse 8 and verse 22. And it's, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him." And then, and actually verse 9, "Oh, fear the Lord, you his saints, for those who fear him have no lack." And also then in 22, "The Lord redeems the life of his servants. None of those who take refuge in him will be condemned." And I think Brother TJ does a great job in this chapter, really highlighting how all these things work together. But one of the things I really want to take a part of his book is on page 103, he talks about righteous living and how that works together for a Christian. And he talks about the abandonment of self-sufficiency. And you're going to get a little point to that as he talks about, from verse 10, the lions who suffer want and hunger. As he says in there's many people who are young lions who believe they can do it all on their own. And it's those who abandon their self-sufficiency and really depend on God who are truly going to find their help. And also on page 103 is the talk about the tongue. You know, one of the things that I've thought about near and dear even as lately is, you know, I did a lot of work and things with my dad's an engineer and helped him on things. So I'm always curious as I look at buildings. And if you've ever noticed the months, maybe even years, it takes to erect and construct a building and put the plan forth to really build these things up, which can be absolutely destroyed in mere days, weeks, maybe months. But the amount of time that it takes to destroy something is much quicker than it is to build. And I think as you look at James and you talk with others, you see the power of the tongue. You see how it can build up, but it can also rip down all the more. And I think part of righteous living shows us that very point. And so as we find ourselves, like David, in imminent death, right? Without Christ, we face imminent death. That's our biggest fear. So no matter how many fears that we have in our lives and how hard life gets, our biggest thing that we've ever had in front of us was the fear of death. And it's been paid for on the cross. And we see that with David. You see his joy counting for God as his refuge. And we can count on our refuge in God, found in Christ, found at the cross, paid for us, so that the death that was due us is no more. And the refuge and the person in whom we serve is now available every single day to reach out and pray and be in his word and have a relationship with him. I hope it's a blessing to you this week. Have a great day.